Hi, welcome to my 2024 favorites video. Now, it's not February 2025 in the sense that it is in fact February 2025. What happened is that I had my tonsils out. By the way, can you guys help me name this area now? Because every time I try to talk about like my tonsils or how it's healing when people ask, I'm like, my tonsils, or they're like, how are your tonsils? I mean, not your tonsils. And I'm like, yeah, what do we call this void? And all I've been able to come up with so far is the holes formerly known as my tonsils, and a sort of nod to Prince. Anyway, blah, 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 technical difficulties. I went to edit the video and I had lipstick on my teeth in the whole thing, but not even where I could like put a funny blurb up saying like, sorry, there's lipstick on my teeth, whatever. It just looked like my two front teeth were mad yellow for no reason, and here we are. But I felt like I had some really important things to share from 2024, so I'm refilming it, okay? Oh, and if you're hoping that in this video I will feature something gross and odd to talk about publicly, you're in luck. Make sure you stick through to the end of the video. My first favorite that it was so crucial that I shared with you, aging / the passage of time. I am the ripe old age of 34. I turned 34 in 2024. A funny thing started to happen to me. So I don't know if you picked up on the little bit of sarcasm when I said ripe old age of 34, but we're like the children or preteens of adults. So the thing that I wanted to kind of speak to is, I mean, this is a favorites video. Being 34 is my favorite. Getting older is my favorite. It's the best. And what makes me kind of bummed is that a lot of younger people seem to be really freaked out about turning 30 or being in their 30s and beyond. And I just think it's great. You know, I like the passage of time. I like caring less about things that don't matter to me and caring more about things that do. The only thing I don't really like is getting injured slightly more often, but not even really, because I also understand like my health better. So I don't know. I just wanted to put it out there that aging and the passage of time really are way up high on my list of favorites from 2024. So moving right along. The How Did This Get Made podcast. I don't know if you guys have listened to it. It's been around for a while. Oh, important thing. How Did This Get Made / Jason Mantzoukas. Jason Mantzoukas brings me a lot of joy. I do love him. I am in love with him. Unfortunately, we cannot be together because I have learned from listening to interviews he's done over the years that he is deathly allergic to eggs. And I would kill him with eggs because I don't think I could love any man more than I could love eggs, which is, you know, do I really like eggs or do I really not like, well, if ever there were a man for me to consider over eggs, it would be Jason Mantzoukas, but I'm just not willing to take that risk for either of us. Anyway, the podcast, How Did This Get Made? It is delightful. They watch bad movies and then they talk amongst themselves, the hosts, Paul Scheer, June Diane Raphael, and Jason Mantzoukas, aforementioned egg man, not from Sonic, not to be confused with the Eggman from Sonic. Anyway, I used to believe, erroneously, that in order to enjoy an episode of How Did This Get Made, I needed to have seen the movie. And then I got tired of not listening to them. So I started listening to episodes that I hadn't seen the movie. And I discovered that I don't need to have seen the movie at all to enjoy the podcast. And if you're wondering whether or not I Googled erroneously after I used that word just now, the answer is none of your business. I did Google it and I was right. So take that. My next favorite. I am not ashamed to say that I found this item through an Instagram ad that said like, Olivia Rodrigo puts one of these in every one of her hotel rooms. And I was like, oh, what does she put in there? It's a Bearaby weighted blanket. I thought about bringing it in for this video, but it's weighted. So it's kind of heavy. I didn't want to. So I'll do this and then maybe insert a photo or something. I've never had a weighted blanket before because your girl sleeps hot. Okay, I sleep very warm. And I also didn't know how I felt about the idea of being crushed. The Bearaby blanket is woven and it has no like weights in it. It's just thick kind of ropes of fabric in a big open weave. This blanket gives me the like release of hormones that one would get when being snuggled, I think. Is that what weighted blankets are for? I don't know. But I put it on and it's not hot. And when I like just under it, I get a little release of like, oh, and it legitimately helps. I have experimented over the past year or so with doing some sleep tracking things just because I'm tired and I wake up a lot in the night and I toss and turn, and anything I've looked at, it's like you're moving around a lot and you're waking up a lot. And more often than when I don't use the weighted blanket, I wake up and I'm like, oh, I like slept and was just sort of smushed down in a satisfying way. I got one for Caspian too, and he loves his as well. So thank you, Olivia, Rodrigo. My next favorite is the Auric Plush Ritual Recovery Lip Treatment. This tube that I'm crushing for dear life, it's like the 5th one that I've gone through. It works so well. I don't know, it has like a really satisfying texture. It has enough grip while still being soft that it kind of stays in place longer than I think a lot of lip treatments, and I feel like then obviously works better because it has more time to soften the skin. I did a lot of traveling during the holidays and like some long haul flights to Asia, and my skin and my cuticles got so dry and cracked, and I started putting this on my cuticles during the flight, and by the time I landed, after like 24 hours, they were back to being soft. It's been a very windy winter in New York, and every time I've been getting chapped, I've used this and it's gotten better. So really, really love that. My next favorite is something that my therapist told me to do. Well, she did not. My therapist did not tell me to do this. It's something I've decided to do based off of something my therapist said. And it is telling my anxiety that it's so cute. I was talking to her a few months ago and I mentioned having not slept well and feeling anxious in the night, which is when it tends to like really be a problem for me, and then I can't get back to sleep. And she was like, well, what do you think your anxiety is trying to do in those moments? And I was like, I don't know, keep me up and make me tired and have everything suck. And she was like, no, your anxiety is really, it's trying to look out for you. Instead of trying to keep it away and being scared of it, just sort of saying like, thank you, I'm good. I've got this, but thank you. And I turned that into being like, oh my God, you're so cute. That's really nice. Like you care about me enough to freak out in the middle of the night, and it's like, that is me, right? Like my, whatever is stressing me out, waking me up in the middle of the night to be like, alarms, what about this thing, this thing, this thing, this thing, this thing? That's just my little tiny inner child still stuck in like, are we okay? Are we gonna be okay? And so that's me loving me in a way, like feeling anxious is an act of self-love if you think about it. And it's actually very sweet that there's like a younger version of you inside going, are we safe? Have you thought about this? Did you make sure you brought this? Like, did you pack everything? Because I want to make sure we're okay. I want to make sure you're okay. That is actually really sweet. I'm like, oh, I care about me enough to freak out? That's nice. And something about the being in the energy or mindset of like, that's nice, that's sweet. It's hard to occupy that feeling at the same time as like crippling anxiety. And so it kind of like shifts my feelings a little bit from like to like, that's sweet. And I don't know, it is helping. It actually does help. So I would say that's one of my favorite little hacks. Next up is the Salt New York limited edition release that came out right in the end of 2024, so barely counts, but I'm counting it anyway because it really is one of my favorite. It's one of my favorite. You gotta add an S or another word after that. You can't say one of my favorite. This is Mood Lighting Deep, but the one that I have been devouring is this Mood Lighting Light, which I've already hit pan on, and it just came out a couple months ago, and I spent a good chunk of that time recovering from a tonsillectomy and traveling. I can also say that it is a huge hit with the staff here. It's their favorite, and they are sad when it leaves because it's limited edition. So my last favorite, as promised, is something that was really useful to me while I was traveling, and it is the little plastic device that my mom gave me years ago, and I left in a drawer unopened until this trip. That it's like a thing that you use so that girls can stand while they pee. I believe it's called a SheWee. I'll post a link. My mom gave me this years ago and she was like, this is a game changer. And I was like, great. I'm so happy for you. And I didn't really investigate further. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to be traveling a lot. Sometimes the bathroom situations can be a little bit touch and go, I know from experience. And so I was like, let me just bring this. It might actually be really convenient, you know, airport bathrooms, whatever. So I tried it and it is amazing. I feel like I should get paid more already. I had to text my mom and be like, my bad. I'm going to let you do your own research if that's something that interests you and come to your own conclusions. I'm really glad that I came back here to film this and share all this information with you guys. Don't know what you would have done without it. I'll see you next time. Thank you so much.